Yo, what is going on, everybody? It has been a while since we've done a character dissection, but we're doing one today as per how the poll was decided. It is a Black Clover video today, and who else better to do than Noct? If you're not familiar with the dissections, because I haven't done one in a while, I am just going to essentially be breaking down the character, going a bit over their backstory, their character, and kind of showing like what else they could probably do in the future, as well as like, the future of them in the series, power wise, story wise, that kind of thing. So, as for Noct is actually one of Black Clover's better written characters. Despite not having like super big importance to the plot, like he's not like Asta or Yami or like Julius or anything like that. He doesn't like actually hold tons and tons of weight in terms of which way the story will probably go in the grand scheme of things. But he's a really good written character. And honestly, when I first seen Noct, like initially when we were getting introduced to him, um, I wasn't a big fan, honestly. I thought he was kind of like, oh, it's another Zora. But once you really get into Noct's backstory, he's very different. Obviously, if you are an anime only, you should probably leave. I'm going to spoil Noct's entire character arc here, so I'd I'd get out of here.
Just get out of here, you stupid, dumb animal!
But anyway, Noct is one of the sons of the Faust family or Faust household. There was him and his brother Morgan. Essentially, they grew up together. While Morgan was kind of seen as that golden child, the one who always does everything right, great personality, everybody loves to be around him. Noct was more growing up, more of the black sheep, kind of aloof, went off, did his own thing. And in his younger days, this is when he met Yami. Yami being a foreigner who's like not really around, not really comfortable in this area. They got along great, obviously, because you got two troublemakers together with similar magic, similar mindsets, just going around causing all kind of trouble. I'm assuming things probably took a big turn when Yami probably met Julius. Not quite for sure if Yami met Julius before or after Noct, but there's no doubt that meeting Julius probably started to spur Yami in the more of the direction of becoming a knight, whereas Noct kind of stayed doing his own thing. So time passing, when everybody starts to get their grimoires, join the Magic Knights, Yami as well as Noct's brother Morgan join the Magic Knights, whereas Noct kind of stays off and just keeps doing his own thing. Now Morgan does constantly try to get Noct to join the Magic Knights because he wants him and his brother to be together, but Noct isn't really feeling it. And then this is when you find out that the Faust family is actually big into demons and that whole occult thing. So in the midst of delving really deep into like the Faust family tradition of summoning demons and mastering them and basically making them subservient to you. This is when Noct does acquire the four devils that he does have now, like even now throughout the story. And this is when this is like the big character moment for Noct that essentially makes him who he is. His dad had handed him the bracelet to summon Lucifugus, and Lucifugus is one of the, like, there's three devils that rule the underworld, and basically Lucifugus is the one that supports him, and Noct was going to try to summon him and master him. Now this is when Morgan steps in. He was, undercover the entire time and essentially stops that from happening. But to do that, he does die in the process. And this is when Noct really changed a lot, because essentially Morgan was the one who wasn't supposed to die. Like, Morgan died even though it was Noct who was doing something wrong. And you could definitely see where this would weigh on him a lot, because or where this would be a huge defining character moment, because he lived his whole life essentially doing whatever he wanted, however he wanted, answering to no one. And it was like the consequences of his own actions that essentially got his brother killed. So from henceforth, he has basically dedicated his life to making sure that no evil goes like untreated or like unchecked, I guess would be a good way to say that. And it was a really beautiful moment, back at, Morgan's grave, when Yami's basically saying, like, when I make it to becoming a captain, I want you to be my vice captain, because that would be kind of crazy. And it actually did come to fruition. And it's one of those things where I feel like now would be a really good time to talk about Noct and Yami's relationship. Whereas it's kind of funny, because I know Noct says a lot of times that he doesn't like Yami, but I feel like it's more of like how similar they are. They aren't that fond of each other, or not that they aren't that fond of each other, but Noct isn't that fond of him because they are really similar. I don't think that Noct actually truly hates him. I feel like it's more of like a brotherly hate kind of thing, how like, you got a brother and you don't like him all like that, but deep down you guys are actually mad close. There's also a little like fun tidbit about Noct that I kind of like. It's really small, but it's actually I don't know how many people know this, but Noct is actually slightly older than Yami. His birthday is like right before his, so Noct is actually technically older than Yami, but he's the vice captain. Yami's the captain. Not saying that the captain has to be the oldest person on the squad, but typically you would like think that. That and they don't really look that close in age. Like Noct looks much younger than Yami, but it's actually not the case at all. Um, but moving on from there, I do want to talk about Noct's abilities. He does have shadow magic, which honestly you would think it would be very similar to dark magic, but it's kind of weird because I feel like the dark ability archetype is typically, I feel like dark powers in general in shonen are done in a way that is very similar to shadow and dark magic in Black Clover. It's almost like Black Clover split them in a half, whereas the dark magic has lots of the energy stuff, but shadow magic has more of lots of the actual tangible parts because Noct is able to like summon hands and things of that nature to grab and interact with things in the actual world, as well as his shadow magic is also a form of transportation or teleportation. He's able to like phase into his shadows and appear in other places, and as well as drag people into them, kind of like portals almost. I guess portals would probably be a much better word. However, the main thing about Noct, or one of his main abilities, would be his devil union. Now devil union, not to get super deep into it, is basically in layman's terms the ability to, I guess, more or less merge with whatever devil you have. He does have four of them, the four being Gimadello, Slotos, Pullmaid, and Wagner. I'm for sure I probably said half of those wrong, but just bear with me. And each one of those individual devils, when they merge with Noct, do give him different characteristics, or I guess they tweak his shadow magic in different ways to make it, function differently, or just give him abilities that are just completely unrelated to shadow magic entirely for some of them. With Gimadello, the Unite mode Canis, he's able to make doppelgangers, which essentially they are more or less very, very similar to Noct, where even Asta's key couldn't really tell them apart. Like Asta could not pinpoint the real Noct amongst all of the different clones of him, which is really crazy because Asta's key is actually really, really good. And I'm assuming mana wise, you probably wouldn't be able to sense it either. As for his other one, his one was Slotos Unite mode Equus. This one is more of a defensive form, seeing as the characteristic is toughness, so it gives him like extra defense. It doesn't really look like a super fast form or super offensive when he's able to tank hits from Dante, as well as withstand the presence of the Demon King, which is honestly extremely impressive, seeing as that thing pulled the Black Bull's base up in the air and crushed it back down and could do all kind of crazy stuff with gravity. So that's definitely a really impressive one. So then with Pullmaid, he does have the Felis Union, and with that one he does get the characteristic of enhanced agility or speed or whatever, however you want to take it. And this one basically like drastically increases his speed. He's much faster, able to dodge a lot of things, move around, and also in this one he did use a like second sight type ability with his shadow magic. I'm not for sure if this is only related to being in the Felis form, but he may or may not have it, since he didn't say like a characteristic with it, he just kind of did it. So there is that. And then with his last one with Wagner, he has the Gallus Union, which in that one the special characteristic is Call, which does momently paralyze or stun basically whoever is within the range of it. So then I guess he has a free move with that, which is kind of dope. And then the really cool thing about Noct and all of these different characteristics or forms of his Devil Union is that he can like intermittently switch between all these in battle, because when used with his monozone Dark Prison Hunting Ground, when he's fighting against the Twin Devils, he was able to switch back and forth between his Felis form and his Equus form, which means that Noct essentially could be a really versatile fighter. And it kind of sucks that in this moment when he was fighting against the Twin Devils, he was technically nerfed. So we haven't really ever seen like full power Noct, because he didn't have Gimadello with him, which means he just did not have access to his Canis form. So far, all of his different union modes do only have one characteristic. If you really wanted to count Second Sight as a second one for Felis, I guess you could, despite the fact that he said shadow magic for that, and for all the other ones he only said just characteristic. I could do another video just going more in depth into Noct's forms, but also in addition to having each of the union forms, during his fight against the Twin Devils, he did surpass his limits and gain the ability to merge two of his forms to temporarily have a even crazier, more powerful form, like when he merged Gallus with the Felis one, which is absolutely insane. He said at that moment he had like the power of a Supreme Devil or something, which is kind of crazy to think that Noct could get up there to that power just by merging them. And it's also one of the things where I feel like if he would have had Gimadello and merged it with one of those two, the form possibly could have been stronger, just because in my opinion I feel like Gimadello or the Canis Unite form is probably one of his more offensive oriented ones. Noct is a really stacked fighter. Like, Noct has all these forms, the ability to merge forms. He even has Monozone. Like, Noct has a lot going for him. So I definitely think he's one of the stronger characters in the series. Like, I'm not even, I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, if you take like you had like Yami versus Noct, I feel like depending on the day, that fight could go either way, depending on probably who's rolling for that day. So Noctis is a really cool character overall, and I really think that Tabata did a really good job with, you know, his backstory, his characterization, his personality, him being consistent within himself. He's a really solid character. One of my personal favorite things about him is that he always says exactly how he feels very bluntly to people, and he just keeps it real all of the time. Like, so all in all, Noct is a dope character. And honestly, I would love to know you guys' opinions on Noct. Is he one of your favorite characters? I know in a recent popularity poll, I think he was like fourth or third or something. He was up there. He ranked really high up in whatever the last popularity poll is. But yeah, let me know you guys' thoughts on Noct down below, and just how you guys feel about him as a character. Definitely do want to do or get in the habit of doing more dissections, since I haven't done them in a really long time. But yeah, aside from that, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. We're going to keep it rolling. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Make sure you guys, you know, stay cool. It's getting warm again over here, so I don't know what it's like around there. Aside from that, I have nothing else for you guys. I'll see you all in my next video.